morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark,
And I'm Zoe.
and we are the Board Adventurers coming back at you with our summer 2024 vlog. We had a pretty active last couple months, I want to say.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
We just finished our two-player month. I'd say we finished our top 10 two-player games as of summer 2024. If you haven't checked that out yet, we'll put a link in the description. But we're just here to kind of give you up to speed as to what we're up to, what we've played recently aside from our two-player games, what we're looking for in the next season, and then having a special unboxing at the end of this. So first, let's talk about, I guess, our last 3 months.
Yeah.
So we played some games, played some pretty good games. Majority of them two-player.
Yeah, we played a ton of two-player games. Pretty much played all the two-player games that we own.
Went through everything. Went from all the way from Sail to Crunch Time, all the way to Mr. Jack, and then up to some of our favorite games like Watergate.
Yeah. We even bought two-player games in prepreration for that video. I think
we tried to get a lot of two-player games played just to make sure we covered as much spread as we could.
Yeah, that was like the goal, to really be definitive of all-time lists. And even after the video, there were some two-player games that we really wanted to check out before then. But
there's not capable of playing all two-player games.
Yeah, so. I think one good thing too, and you discussed this when we started up the channel, is if we're gonna make these top lists, make it very definitive and very running the gamut, like going through as many as we can before we just make a list.
Right.
And I think we did that with the two-player games.
Yep.
Played a lot of games, and even after that, we still, games we were like, I wish we played this. So.
Yeah. Like I think we had mentioned before, like Rift Force was on my list to play. I wanted to play some sort of like Blitzkrieg and Caesar type of game.
Yeah, and there were like for me, there was a bunch of other Catholic two-player games that I didn't know about.
Yeah, you went and got one too,
I did.
Right?
I purchased one called Donut.
Yeah.
Which has a similar rule set to Sobek, which was my number 3 two-player game of all time. So I'm looking forward to trying that out.
It's gonna be higher than Seven Wonders Duel, I swear.
Probably will be.
Okay, but other than that, we actually did play a couple just only two-player games too, right?
Yeah.
So my wife's mother got back from Korea a couple months ago, and she brought back with her Pokemon Splendor.
Yeah.
Which we ended up playing and reviewing on the channel. Which, if it's not posted yet, we'll post it at some point too.
Yeah.
We did play a couple other games, like we played through White Castle. I think we actually are planning to review that too at some point.
Yeah.
And then I think we actually played through Skyrise.
We did get we got Skyrise, the Kickstarter edition of it, and got a playthrough of that.
To table that,
Yeah, which was interesting. Wait for our review for our thoughts on that.
Yeah, but I didn't know it was an auction game until we played that game.
Yeah.
And speaking of auction games, we actually got around to one of the games on my list to play for this year. We actually played Ra.
Yeah.
That also we're looking to at some point review.
Yeah.
Some point.
Yeah. Definitely gonna review Ra at some point. So 2 auction games, and we're not really auction gamers. So we got 2 auction games.
I was not really impressed with a lot of auction games prior. I mean, For Sale was like kind of hitting that sweet spot for a while.
Yeah.
But like time changes and you get new auction games.
I also want to try as many different types of games as well.
Oh yeah, no, the mechanics that at least when we play them, they just felt a little just different.
Yeah.
But we'll get to it when we get around to it.
Yeah, I know a big thing for this year too, outside of just the two-player games that we spent the whole month playing. I was playing a lot more newer games.
Yes. So that was, I think, one of our goals this year was to actually get through our collection. And I think one of the main reasons for that is, so now we're at around 40-ish videos now on YouTube. It only took us a year and a half to get here. But we are eventually, probably by September, give or take. So our September theme month will end up being our top 50 games of all time to celebrate with our 50th video. Right? That's the plan currently. This might change based on kind of life conditions that are happening.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, we really need to start playing a whole bunch of games that we have we have not played.
I feel like we both have pretty large collections and probably gotten through 30% of it.
30, yeah, I want to say at least they played half of mine.
You play, yeah. No, I'm bringing it down to 30.
Yeah, okay.
My collection alone.
Yeah,
bringing it down to 30.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to fit in as many of these in because I know there are some games that I haven't played that I think will make my list. And knowing what happened in this 2-player list, I'm gonna be very surprised at this guy's list here.
You probably will be. I already have my number. I already have what my number one could be, and I don't think you would know what game that is.
So I had heard your number one before pandemic. That was the last time I had known his number one.
Before the pandemic?
It was before the pandemic. So that's definly changed by now.
I don't think I had a top 10.
Yeah. What I think we should do though is so as we're making our list, right? When we get to our top 10, I think we should try to guess each other's lists. Like 10 games. And be like, I checked this off and this off. And
what the top 10 would be?
I think I can accurately guess at least 2.
That's in the top 10.
I don't know what your top are anymore. I was surprised when Seven Wonders Duel Again wasn't in there and Sobek was in there. So for all I know, you really like some games that I just baffled that you know.
I'm kind of I'm a weird gamer in that like my opinions on game wavers a lot. From play to play, new things to discover. My opinions on board gaming changes as well. So I'm always amazed when gamers have like a very consistent top 50 with very minimal changes. Because my view on a game this year is going to be different next year based off of new things I played and
that's a fair point. Yeah.
So I feel like like I think about my top 5 sometimes and it's like, oh, that's changed.
Yeah, and I think it helps that we both kind of vary in terms of our games. We don't want to have the same gameplay because then we influence, in a sense, you, the viewer, differently.
True.
Right? Because, again, if we use the example of, say, like, you like Radlands a lot. And for me, I'm not as, enamored with it as you are. I think, like, having those different varying opinions is important to have.
Yeah.
Just because then, someone can make a more informed decision.
And I think what it is, I thought about this after the top 10 2-player, why you can never guess my list, is because I realized I keep opinions on games to myself a lot.
Yeah, you do.
And I'm always willing to play anything, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, so like right before we had made this 2-player list, so he had requested to play Watergate one more time. And I was like, oh, okay. It means it was just on the borderline of him making the list.
Yeah.
And then as we were getting through, I was like, I don't think he has Watergate on his list. I don't think it's up there. But for me, I knew Watergate would be like in that top tier for me already.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like what games were going to start to skew into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess because I'm very willing to play everything, and you're kind of like, once you dislike a game a little bit, you give a game a play. If you dislike it, you're less likely to play.
I'm more on like my first impression of the game is typically what I'll have throughout it, unless I played a rule completely wrong or something else has changed entirely.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of the opposite. I'm willing to play a game multiple times before I'm like.
Yeah, no, I think that's how it should be.
Yeah. Either way works, doesn't matter. But I think that skews what you think I like and don't like.
Yeah, I didn't. Again, Sobek was just wild to me. I was like, we played it those like 3 or 4 times. Yeah. And I thought it was like, oh, he's enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I wanted to play it right away, too, because after the playthrough, I was like, do I love this game? And I was like, all right, let me play this again and see where this kind of ends up for me.
Yeah, okay. And when we played it, we played it 2 straight. And I thought we played it 2 straight so that we can get the better idea of like, okay, well, like we know where we kind of stand, but we just want to make sure this is correct. Like, we iterate the same rule set. Yeah. Right? Because sometimes you might have a different layout of cards. You might have something where a rule kind of boxes you into a corner. And that kind of like pushes your opinion of the game. We'd like to like get that out of the way.
Yeah. And I'm a stickler for kind of like, because like I said before, my opinions on things like wildly varies based off of a play. So I always want to have multiple plays to kind of see where I even out in terms of how I feel. So that's why immediately for Sobek, I was like, okay, I gotta play this again. Right. And Watergate too, we only played it a handful of times, but that was like when I first got it years ago. So I wanted another playthrough fairly recent to see if I'm solidified
Right.
in that being my number one. So
Yeah. So I guess going back now into what we're doing in September.
oh yeah.
I think if your list has changed drastically, I want to say my list also has changed pretty drastically. I looked
Probably,
at the
yeah.
last maybe top 10 that I had ever created, and this was during the pandemic. So I played a lot more games since then.
Same.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to say, yeah, like a majority of that list has changed in that time. I am very curious as to what's going to make that 10 to 30 range because there's so many games currently that kind of fall in that category. And I wonder how they shift around like that.
I'm more curious on what my 50 to 40 is going to be.
Oh, yeah?
The main reason being that we've played so many games since the pandemic started and when we really got into it, that there's a lot more games that I like, don't love, that I'm looking at, like making jotting down all the games that I played and whatnot, and realizing there's going to be a lot of games I like that's not going to make my top 50 at all.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in what's even going to crack the 50,
Yeah,
let alone,
yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I think,
Yeah.
like, from my standpoint was when we had started the channel a year and a half ago, I knew I didn't have enough games that I loved to make the 50. I feel like now that we've gotten this far, I can like confidently say I have at least a 50 that I can make that I would, in a sense, at least really enjoy or love.
Really?
In that 50.
Yeah, and the 50 is all games you love.
I think so, yeah. Like I didn't want to just put a game that I liked and be like, this is 50. This is good, but it's, like there's better. you know?
Okay.
I feel like I could say my 50 is like a great game and you should try to find it if you can, or at least try it.
I think, not putting together our list yet, I think my top 20 are games that I love, while the rest of the 30 are going to be games I really, really like.
Okay.
I guess I withhold that love.
Yeah, I think I'm like, same thing. Like
Yeah.
it's like really like, and then that love section's like it varies in that like 1 to 21 to maybe 25 possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, definitely looking forward to making that list, honestly. I think it's going to be a hard time to actually make that list.
Yeah, and we'll be doing more reviews in between then.
True,
So
yeah.
games could just slot in.
100%. Yeah. Cool.
Right.
So I think the next thing that we're going to be doing here is that we received our first game from a publisher. We received the game from Stonemaier Games, which we didn't really think if the first publisher that was going to be sent us the game would be Stonemaier.
yeah.
That was pretty surprising. And it's also a game that we didn't think we would request to get.
Yeah.
So the first game that we got from a publisher is
This one.
Yep. Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Yeah. So we'd like to just extend our gratitude to Stonemaier Games for sending us this copy for us to actually review.
Yeah.
And so we'll look to review this within the next month or two on the channel.
Yeah, 100%. Just want to make sure we get a lot of playthroughs of it in different player accounts.
Yep.
See what we really like. Give it really a lot of thought since this is a game that we're getting from a publisher. I'm curious, what were your thoughts of Between Two Castles before we got this game?
So I didn't know much about this game to begin with. I knew that there was Stonemaier had created some sort of combination between a game called Between Two Castles, and I believe it's the Castles of Mad King Ludwig, which I think is from another publisher.
Bezier
I think it's Bezier. Yeah. So I don't know again much of this game, but I was looking just at the back of this board, or back of the box. And I see it just like more like a tile placement, but it's some sort of like interaction. If I'm just reading it again off the back, I don't know much about it. Is that you're giving tiles to your opponent, and you're giving a tile to yourself.
Yeah.
But your score is based on your opponent's castle. So I think you want yours to be as low as possible, whereas you want your opponent, an adjacent opponent, to be as high as possible.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. Again, I don't know. We haven't opened this yet. We're going to unbox this.
Still in the shrink.
We'll read the rule book. But yeah, what do you think? What were your first impressions of this?
Yeah, so I've heard of this game before. Obviously, like I think we know about every Stonemaier game at this point. And I knew it was kind of based off of two games. Like what you said, Between Two Castles and the Mad King Ludwig from Bezier. And I just kind of took it off my list because, one, I haven't played either of those games. So before even thinking about this, wanted to play those two games. But as the it became an option for us to get this as a review.
Yeah.
And given that our theme is late to the game reviews for people who are interested in older popular games and want a more modern take on those, at least I feel it would be an interesting review based off for two people who haven't played the original games to review this.
Kind of seeing like, how this mechanic works, and then possibly going back and playing the other two games and seeing how those two kind of function into this.
Oh, 100%. So I thought it would be an interesting test.
Yeah, and honestly, like, Stonemaier art is just top notch.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to pull this out of the box right now and set it up. That's how much I want to play this game right now.
Yeah, and with that said, that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
We're going to see you on the table to take a look at the components of the game.
All right, so here is the box for Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, sent to us by Stonemaier. Here's the cover. Pretty scenic cover. On the back, it shows how you play it. Looks like it's a tile draft in here. It looks like there's like a central side here, and then there's 3 different sections. We found out this is a 3 to 7 player game. So I can see why they have the setup here. All right, let's take a look at what's inside this thing. Let's take a look at the outside. Take off the siding there. All right, take the cover off. That slide in there. All right, got the rule book here. Again, that Stonemaier rule book finish right there feels really, really cool. Got the pages there. Typically they'll probably come. It doesn't seem like there's an Autonoma here, but yeah, the 2-player variant. It kind of makes sense. They got player pieces. Oh, wait. Oh, this must be where the tiles go. So you got this. You got the player board. This is probably the scoring sheet. Yeah, scoring based on, I guess, a type of room that you have here. Plenty of paper. Play plenty of these. Coming out, you got different cards. And looks like a type here. Oh, I messed that up. Ooh, can't get that open. I got cards here. It looks like player aids. Looks like 1 for each player. I really appreciate that. There's a board here. This must be where the tiles get inserted. Again, a place to store them. Pretty legit. Solid plastic. Somewhere really produces their game really well. And then the tiles. Looks like there's different tiles here. You got fountains at the top. Not sure what this is here. Double-sided. Looks like the same thing on the side. And then there's different player boards for each one of these. So the different types of rooms, grand foyers to an escape room. Whoa, that's pretty cool. I'm imagining they all have different types of effects here. You got like hidden entrances, a bakery. Whoa, that's pretty cool. Drawing room. There's these larger tiles here. They probably will go for like certain players. Coming in, more tiles. These will probably go into that red storage thing that's there. And then pieces. Looks like we have some pretty cool pieces here. Probably like different types of castles probably for each player piece. I kind of like the almost pastel-y color that some of these have. But that's the 7 colors that comes with. Okay, so that is our unboxing of Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
Well, that is our unboxing of Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, as well as our thoughts on a 2-player month that we just completed, as well as our top 10 2-player games of all time as of right now, and our top 50 of all time that should be going out in the next couple months. Yeah. that is our summer 2024 vlog.
Yep.
We'll see you on the next adventure. I'm Zoe.
I'm Mark.